The Torah of convenience or the Torah of conviction? Torah of convenience or the Torah of conviction? So the first thing I want to do, left my scripture. Let's see. I'll pull it up on my phone. All right, so let's go back just a little bit and touch on. Oh, you know what? I do need my notebook. Tell them, bring me my notebook and my scriptures. The first thing I want to do is jump backwards and touch on in that Stop the Violence teaching where we discussed Ezekiel chapter 22 and the violence also in Luke chapter 16, and Yeshua speaks of it. But the violence that is done against the kingdom, against the Torah, against Yahweh's people, against Yahweh's word. And so let's start first in Ezekiel chapter 22. We're going to go from verse 23 down to verse 31. Again, Ezekiel chapter 22, verse 23 down to verse 31. And it reads, "As silver is melted in the midst of a furnace, so are you melted in its midst. And you shall know that I, Yahweh, have poured out my wrath on you. And the word of Yahweh came to me, saying, Son of man, say to her, you are a land that is not cleansed or rained upon in the day of displeasure. There is a conspiracy of her prophets in her midst, like a roaring lion tearing the prey. They have devoured life. They have taken wealth and precious matters. They have made many widows in her midst. Her priests have done violence to my teaching, and they profane my set-apart matters. They have not distinguished between the set-apart and the profane, nor have they made known the difference between the unclean and the clean. And they have hidden their eyes from my Sabbaths, and I am profaned in their midst. Her leaders in her midst are like wolves tearing the prey, to shed blood, to destroy lives, and to get greedy gain. And her prophets have coated them with whitewash, seeing a false vision, and divining a lie for them, saying, Thus said the Master Yahweh, when Yahweh had not spoken. The people of the land have practiced oppression and committed robbery, and have wronged the poor and needy, and they oppressed the stranger without right ruling. And I sought for a man among them who would make a wall and stand in the breach before me on behalf of the land, that I should not destroy it. But I did not find one. Therefore I have poured out my displeasure on them. I have consumed them with the fire of my wrath, and I have put their way on their head, declares the Master Yahweh. And we talked about the violence that is being done, and the violence is being done against the Torah. And the idea that the violator is near. It was the shepherds. It was the leaders. It was the priests. It was those who should be standing up for the Torah. Those are the ones who were doing the violence against the Torah that's spoken of in verse 26. Her priests have done violence to my teaching. Violence to my teaching. And we talked about, and we went into Constantine's creed, and that came out of the Council of Nicaea of 325 AD, and how they even verbalized, not just verbalized, but recorded, and now we have a historical document to say that the violence is real, right? Because they said, you know what? Yahweh's Sabbaths, we don't want. His feast days, we don't want. His precepts, we don't want. So now, what are they saying? We are going to do our own thing. We're going to make up our own rules, and we're going to abide by our own rules. We're going to profane the Sabbaths of Yahweh because we don't want it. So again, violence being done against that which Yahweh taught, that which he delivered to Moshe, that which he delivered to his people, to Israel. But the strength of the Torah is undeniable. And Yeshua addressed this. So let's go over to now Luke chapter 16. Luke chapter 16, and we're going to read from verse 14 to verse 17. And this is Yeshua speaking, and he is in the midst of mixed company. So some of the folks that are hearing this don't feel too good about him and what he's about anyway. So let's read Luke chapter 16, verse 14 down to verse 17. And it reads, "And you shall..." Wait a minute. I'm in the wrong chapter. Chapter 16. There we go. All right. Verse 14. "And the Pharisees who loved silver also heard all this and were sneering at him. So he said to them, 'You are those who declare yourselves righteous before men. But Elohim knows your hearts, because what is highly thought of among men is an abomination in the sight of Elohim. Yes. The Torah and the prophets are until Yohanan. Since then, the reign of Elohim is being announced, and everyone is doing violence upon it.'" Everyone is doing violence upon it. Verse 17. "And it is easier for the heaven and the earth to pass away than for one tittle of the Torah to fall." Yahweh is saying, no matter what comes and what goes, it is easier for everything that you know to go before one word that Yahweh has spoken to fail. That violence is done against the Torah, but this speaks to the strength, the endurance, the power of the Torah, the words that Yahweh uttered, So let's take a look here really quickly at Torah. We've gone through this before, but I want to take a look at this again. The word Torah, H8451. And you have, in that word, you have the Tav, you have the Resh, and a Hey. It is also quite often spelled Tav, Vav, Resh, Hey. Tav, Vav, Resh, Hey. And it just means law or direction or instruction. Now here's one interesting fact, that it's a feminine noun. That means that it gives birth.
Yes.
That means it brings forth life. Now what do people try to tell us? Oh, that's dead works. Oh, you're in bondage. Oh, this, oh, that. Wait a minute. The word itself is a feminine noun. It brings forth life. Right? And so the teaching and instruction and direction of Yahweh, and the root word of that is comes from H3384, which is Yarah. Yarah, and that word means to flow as water. So in the beginning, have we just identified the beginning right here? Yes, we have. The Torah is from the beginning. To flow as water, to teach, to direct, as an archer, to show, to point in the direction of. And so even when Shaul says, study to show yourself approved, he's telling them right there that the Torah, you are to be taught by the Torah, to be taught of the Torah, right? And so let's take a look now at that word Tav, Vav, Resh, Hey. Torah. Let's take a look at that. Tav is sign or cross or covenant or seal. A sign or cross or covenant or seal, right? Vav is a nail or a secured hook. Resh is the head. Speaks of the head of a man, the back of the head. The first, as in the highest, right? And then Hey is a window, a fence, or to reveal. So, a window reveals out of the house. The fence reveals out of your boundaries, right? So if we put those together, really not even adding any words or anything, but it would say something like this: covenant, nailed head to reveal. Covenant, nailed head to reveal. Yahshua is the head. He's the head honcho. He's the man, right? As being man, he is the head. He is the first, right? And so he is revealing the covenant as being the one that was nailed. He's revealing the covenant as being the one that was nailed. And he reveals himself how? Through his Torah. That's why he says, if you love me, keep my commands. That's why Yohanan says in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Elohim, and the Word was Elohim. Yeshua being manifested as flesh, he came as the living Word. He is the living Word. And so the Torah is the Word. That's, again, we have to make people qualify and quantify what they say. Nobody will ever go against the Word. But nobody quantifies and qualifies what the Word is. There is no davar or davarim higher or greater than those words spoken by Yahweh himself. Yahweh spoke the Torah. So if we say the word, Yahweh's word is above every other word. Every other word. Every other word. And so, how does that tie back into this idea of convenience? This idea of convenience. The Torah of convenience or of conviction. Well, in today, in this age that we're in, there's this concept of convenience. And 7-Eleven played a huge part in the idea of today as we know, the C-store, the corner store, the convenience store. These are places that you can go, usually at any time, any reason, just you need something, stop in the convenience store and pick it up, right? You're on your way out from somewhere, on your way to somewhere. This is not a planned grocery store visit. This isn't you going shopping. That's why it's called the convenience store. It's all about convenience. The idea was that they were selling blocks of ice. And they said, you know what, we got ice. Need milk, need eggs, need bread. So they sold eggs, milk, and bread. The same place where they sold blocks of ice. And so conveniently, people would say, well, I got to get my big block of ice, put it in my Frigidaire, put it in my ice box, right? And so I'm going to put it in the ice box, and I'm going to put some eggs in there and some milk in there, and I might need a slice of bread or two, right? And so they go ahead and just pick all of that up while they're there. It's convenient, right? It's convenient. And so, 7-Eleven, their name 7-Eleven is kind of oxymoron because they were named because they were open from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. But as you can see, it says 24 hours. So out of convenience, they said, you know what? People want stuff all times of the night. They're close to where people are getting off work, and going into work and working third shift and all these different hours, so they're open 24 hours. How convenient. You go in and get what you need. Whoa. If somebody works, does anybody here work third shift, or has anybody ever worked third shift? Now, one thing that I've noticed about third shift workers is they all drink coffee. If anybody's not ever worked third shift, then maybe you drink coffee just because you drink coffee. But it's almost like if you work third shift or have worked third shift, you drink coffee. Period. Point blank. Because I don't know how else you can stay awake at 4 o'clock in the morning. And so they begin to sell all these conveniences, coffee in to-go cups, things that's easy to get and go. However, do you think it's cheaper to get that loaf of bread from the 7-Eleven or from the Walmart? Yes, I did say the. So Walmart's probably a little cheaper on the bread, right? So to prove that out, it costs about $3 to get a loaf of bread at the 7-Eleven. It costs about $1.50 to get a loaf of bread at the Walmart. So, what does that tell us? You pay for convenience. You pay for convenience. Now, the violence that is done against the Torah tells us that the Torah is inconvenient. They tell us that all the sales are on Saturday. Why would you want to be in church? They tell us Sunday service lasts 2 hours. Why would you want to be a whole day of Sabbath? Come in here at 9, leave at 11. Come at 11, leave at 1. Every now and then we'll slide in extra service. I done seen some where they got a 7 o'clock, a 8:30, and an 11 o'clock. It's an hour and a half. You done. In and out. You have paid your dues for the week. Check mark. Anything other than that is what? Inconvenient. Violence. 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 Man, 7-Eleven got ATMs, they got Pepsi, they got Coke, they got milk, bread, everything. Hot dogs, slushies, everything. Oodles and noodles, microwave for the oodles and noodles. You ain't even got to leave the store. They got a little sink right there. You pour your water in there, pop it in the microwave, walk around, buy some other stuff. Come back, get your noodles, your slushie, and go on to work, and your coffee. Coffee and slushie. They got those too, iced coffee. So, but let's think about this. Think about this. Think about this. Convenience enables you to conform. It promotes conforming. Conviction enables you to transform. So let's think about some of these things. If you use, like when I married my wife, she was like, oh, I only use this brand of this, and I only use this brand of this brand of this. I'm like, what? What's on sale? What are you talking about? But for a long time, and there's still some things that she won't bend to. She's getting ragu, period. Don't matter how good Prego is. She getting ragu. So, if she sends me to go to the store, and I'm going from point A to point B, and there is a what? Convenience store in between point A and point B, but they don't got ragu. They got Prego. I'm going to come home with Prego, and it's going to be like this big of a bottle, and it's going to be done cost like $4. I've just conformed to the ways of that convenience store, right? Because that's what they had, so that's what I got. So I say stuff like this. It'll do. I'll just have to get over it, or she'll just have to get over it. I say stuff like, Beggars can't be choosy. I say stuff like, it'll work for now. I say stuff like, well, it ain't so bad. I say stuff like, I'll get over it. Those are the things that I say when I conform. But when I am convicted, I'm going to ride my behind past that convenience store, because one thing I'm convicted of is I ain't paying $4 for no little tiny jar. Now, we might have to argue on the whole ragu thing, you know, because the Walmart one might be on sale for a little less. But I'm going to operate out of conviction. I declare I will not pay $4. I'm going to pay the $2 that they say I'm supposed to pay, right? And so what does that say? When I am convicted of something, these are the things that I say. I have to. I refuse to. I won't let this inconvenience stop me. I must. I must not. No matter what. I don't care. Those are the things that I say when I'm convicted. When it's out of convenience, then I can bend it, I can turn it, I can twist it, I can make it fit, I can make it work. Why? Because it's convenient. It's the easy thing. It's easy like Sunday morning. It's right here. All I gotta do is deal with it. Right? The problem is, we find ourselves trying to change Torah rather than Torah changing us. The convenience says that I change what I really know and feel in my heart of hearts. The convenient way says I conform to whatever's around me because, hey, that's what everybody else does. So instead of Torah changing me, I then go in and do violence against the Torah. I do violence against the Torah by saying, oh, well, you know, I'm still keeping the Sabbath. It's just on the first day. I say, well, oh, you know, I'm still observing this holy day. It's just, I'm doing it 2 days later because I had to work that day. Well, you know, I'll fast for Yom Kippur, but I'm going to do half the fast today and half of it tomorrow. The Torah of convenience. Conviction says, I don't care that I got to work today. Conviction says, it doesn't matter if today is the office party and everybody's bringing food and it's Yom Kippur all at the same time. Conviction says it doesn't matter that my best friend's wedding is today and it's unleavened bread. I still ain't eating the cake. Anime. So conviction says I change, not Torah. Convenience says instead of me changing, let me twist. Y'all know the definition of iniquity. I've taught that. The definition of iniquity is not just that you transgress the law, but iniquity is you change it. You alter it. You pervert it. Make it something that it's not. Let's go to Psalms chapter 19. And Lamar has already opened this up to us. And I promise y'all, this slide was already on there before Lamar said that. I was like, man, Lamar, is you in there, bro? Go ahead. So chapter 19. Chapter 19. Reading verse 7 down to verse 14. Verse 7 down to verse 14. The Torah of Yahweh is all right. The Torah of Yahweh is almost there. Torah of Yahweh is for the Jews. The Torah of Yahweh is no longer necessary. It doesn't say none of that. It says that the Torah of Yahweh is perfect.
Hallelujah.
Bringing back the being. Y'all know what that means? Taking that which was dead and bringing it to life. What did we say about the Torah earlier? A feminine noun brings forth life. Bringing back the being. The witness of Yahweh is trustworthy, making wise the simple. The orders of Yahweh are straight, rejoicing the heart. The command of Yahweh is clear, enlightening the eyes. The fear of Yahweh is clean, standing forever. The right ruling of Yahweh are true. They are righteous altogether. More desirable than gold, than much fine gold, and sweeter than honey and the honeycomb. Also, your servant is warmed by them. In guarding them, there is great reward. Who discerns mistakes, declares me innocent from those that are secret. Also, keep your servant back from presumptuous ones. Do not let them rule over me. Then shall I be perfect. Why? Because your Torah is perfect. And innocent of great transgression. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing before you, O Yahweh, my rock and my redeemer. The Torah is perfect. Doesn't need us to adjust it. Doesn't need us to fix it. Doesn't need us to make it right. The Torah is perfect. And so when we consider the conversation of even it being perfect, consider this. That word is tamim, and it means complete or whole, entire. But it also means sound, as in without blemish. The Torah is sound, without blemish.
Yes.
The Torah is sound and without blemish.
Hallelujah.
Yahweh called for the offering of a perfect lamb that was sound without blemish. So he came and gave of himself as being our Passover lamb, as being sound and without blemish. And then what did he say? That he's coming back for a bride who is sound and without blemish.
Right, right.
So let's look at Romans chapter 12, and it says, I call upon you therefore, brothers, through the compassion of Elohim, to present your bodies a living sacrifice, set apart, well-pleasing to Elohim, your reasonable worship. And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you prove what is that good and well-pleasing and perfect desire of Elohim. Now let's go to Ephesians chapter 5. Husbands, love your wives. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25. Husbands, love your wives, as Messiah also did love the assembly and gave himself for it, in order to set it apart and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word. Why? Because we just read in Psalms 19 that the word, that the Torah, that those spoken words of Yahweh are able to bring back the being.
Hallelujah.
That the words of Yahweh are able to produce life where there was death. And does not need our help. Does not need our interpretation. Does not need our add-ons. Right? In verse 27, in order to present it to himself. Who's the it? The bride. To present it to himself, a splendid assembly. A splendid assembly, not having spot or wrinkle or any of this sort, but that it might be set apart and blameless. So, if we, being unclean, take Torah and adjust it to our uncleanness, are we without spot? Are we without blemish? Are we blameless? But if we take our unclean, our stained, our sin-filled hearts and minds and transform to the Torah, to the ways of the Torah, to the obedience of the Torah, then we begin to look like it rather than it look like us. And when we look like it, now what does that mean? We're spotless, we're blameless, and as the Torah spoke, we become more of Yahweh. We draw closer to Him, He'll draw closer to us. And so let's think about this whole concept of convenience versus conviction. Convenience versus conviction. I can take it the easy way, or I can do it Yahweh's way. I can do it the way that has been presented to me, or I can do it the way that is, hey, kind of got my little twist on it, so it's not that bad. I can do it the way Yahweh said do it, or I can do it the way that I think I want to do it. Let's look at some examples. Noah builds the ark. So, Noah, go build the ark. And this is what you're going to do. It's going to take you like forever to build it. It's not going to be rain at all when you start. But I promise you it'll be a whole lot when you finish. I want you to use gopher wood. I want you to put windows in it, 3 decks, 30 cubits high, 50 cubits wide. I want you to have 300 cubits long. You need to cover it with tar. You need to have rooms and all that kind of good stuff. So you're going to have a lot of animals in there. And Noah says, well, yeah, okay. Well, it's kind of 3 decks. That seems a bit overkill. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do 1 deck. And rooms, rooms, the only difference between rooms and no rooms is walls. So no room, just one big open, we'll be happy, just existing all together. Just wonderful. Gopher wood is really hard to come by. Yahweh, this good old cherry is right here. It's pretty and it cuts real easy. I think I'm going to use that. And since it's not going to rain for some time, we talk 120 years, I should be able to finish all of that in 20 years. I'm going to wait my 100 years before I get started. Cool, good. That which represents the protection of Yahweh for all humanity, Noah had to do exactly what Yahweh said, convenience aside. This is not about ease. This is about provision and obedience. I'm providing a way of escape for you. I'm allowing you to live through what 99.9% of the world won't. And you're going to tell me what you're going to do? So, is this a matter of salvation or not? I would say this was a matter of salvation. Because otherwise he would have been dead. Also unsaved from the wrath. Right? And so let's look at something else. All of the burnt offerings and sacrifices and everything that Yahweh put in place as a place marker and a space holder while He is preparing to come and to be exactly that for us. And so He told Moshe and gave him all these directions. He's you want 2 male lambs, 1-year-old, perfect. And you're gonna do this every day. You're gonna burn this offering. You're gonna take some and eat it. But every now and then, you're gonna allow even others to partake in it. We want 1 lamb in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, 1 in the evening, 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening. 1/10 of an ephah of flour along with it, a grain offering. We want 1/4 of a hin of pressed olive oil, and you want to do this continually. And we're going to have this as a sweet smelling savor to Yahweh, and this is going to be a fire offered unto Yahweh as an offering with the drink offering, which is 1/4 of a hin for every lamb that you do, and you're going to pour it on the set apart place. And you're going to have this lamb between the evening and the morning, and grain and drink offering and fire and all of this stuff happening. And Moshe says, yeah, that sounds real good. But man, it sure is a whole lot easier if I just kill both of them lambs at one time and offer them both. I'm already slaughtering. Come on, Yahweh, I'm already slaughtering. Why not slaughter both at once? Done. I'll cook it all at one time. We'll eat some in the morning and eat some in the evening. Call that the morning offering and call that the evening offering. And why has it got to be a quarter of a hen? That is just hard to measure. Half, I can eyeball. So instead of doing it twice, I'm going to do it once because I can eyeball half, and the same is the same. 1/4 plus 1/4 equals 1/2. 2/4 equals 1/2. Oh, non-math people is confused. They're like, wait a minute. Don't that equal like 2/8 or something? No, it don't equal 2/8. But here we have the bringing of sacrifices and offerings that will atone for sin. Yahweh knew exactly what he wanted.
Right.
And he didn't need Moshe's input. Just like he don't need ours. Here, this represents the forgiveness of Yahweh. And you want Yahweh to forgive you based on what you wanted to give him. Because it was convenient. Because it was convenient. All right, let's go with the next one. Moshe builds the tabernacle. Now, Moshe got his building skills from Noah. The first Noah, the first Noah and the first Moshe, they got their building skills from the same school. So Moshe is like, okay, Yahweh's talking about purple and blue and scarlet and red and cherubim all over the place. 10 curtains? What? 10? Come on. You want 28 by 4 cubits and they all got to be the same size. And that means I got to line them up perfectly in blue loops and on the edges and 50 loops, a perfect set, and gold hooks and joints and 11 curtains. Why 11 curtains of goat hair? You know how long it takes to get goat hair to make 11 curtains? Oh my goodness. And you want it to hang over some on one side, some on the other side, some on the back side. That don't make a whole lot of sense. I think I'm going to take shortcut here and there. So what we get is what we get. But you know what? Yahweh knows my heart. And he will accept my offering. And he will come dwell with me. Because I built it and he came. That which represents the presence of Yahweh, do we really want to take shortcuts on it? This tabernacle represented, he said, build the tabernacle so that I can come and dwell in your midst. And then he says to Moshe one step further, he says, you know what? Not only am I speaking this to you, Moshe, but I'm going to show you this. So build it exactly according to all that I have shown you. So not only did he tell Moshe what to do, he showed it to him. So I can imagine that Yahweh spoke to Moshe, and as he's speaking, he's walking him through what it looks like. And he's showing him. And that's why Moshe can very vividly remember exactly what he's to do and how he is to instruct the builders to build. So what if Yeshua decided to be convenient?
That's what I'm talking about.
What if Yeshua decided to be convenient? That which represents salvation of Yahweh. And so you're going to have me take on a friend and he's going to betray me. Why don't I just ex-nay him from the beginning? And then we don't have to worry about it. We don't have to worry about that. And then all these beatings and getting whipped. I'm a king. How about a real crown? Not one of those with the thorns on it, please. I mean, I'm getting betrayed by my friends. I mean, just a minute ago, we was all at dinner, eating together, chilling, hanging out. And now one of them done turned me over to these crazy people over here. And I created them. And I got to go with them to let them beat me, interrogate me, ask questions of me. They are my creation. I don't think I need to go through all of that. How about I just come, die of old age as a king, and it's done. Bloodshed, good to go. They can keep slaughtering lambs, by the way. They can just keep doing that. They not slaughter me. What if Yeshua decided to go the route of convenience? But instead, he didn't say a mumbling word. Instead, he said, this is my passion. When his passion was completed. Instead, he said, nobody takes my life, but I lay it down. So in other words, knowing all of this will happen, I still willfully go through with it. I still willfully go through with it because it has to be done. He didn't operate out of convenience. He operated out of conviction. Y'all say this with me. Anything worth having is worth working for.
Anything worth having is worth working for.
So the opposite applies. If it ain't worth having, then it ain't worth working for. So if you find yourself saying, oh, all of that Torah, that's too much. Well, Proverbs 25:2 says, it is the esteem of Elohim to hide a matter, and the esteem of sovereigns to search out a matter. Guess what? It's the same matter. He hid it so that you could go find it. It's not sitting on the surface. He spoke to crowds and crowds of people and said, you know what? They coming for the fish and the loaf. Let me share something with y'all. When they asked Yeshua why he spoke in parables, he didn't say, oh, it's so that the farmers can understand farm language, so I'm speaking like that. No. He said because in them, the prophet Isaiah comes true. The fulfillment happens. In hearing, they hear not. And seeing, they see not. So I'll speak in plain language in their hearing, and they still don't hear what I'm saying. I stand here as the son of Elohim, not just any son of Elohim, the son of man. I stand here as Elohim in the flesh. They see me, but they don't see me. It's not about convenience. It's about conviction. And so if it's worth having, it's worth working for. If Yahweh is worth having, Yahweh is worth working for. If Yahweh is worth having, he's worth working for. A relationship with Yahweh may not be easy, but the choice to have one should be. The decision to say I want a relationship with Yahweh should be easy. But please understand that actually having a relationship with Yahweh is not easy. And it doesn't mean that everything goes away, and if it doesn't, then you're doing something wrong. And it also doesn't mean that if Yahweh wants you to do something that you don't think you should do, then you got to say so in it. The Torah was created long before us, and it's going to be here long after us. We just read that the heavens and the earth will pass away. It's easier for everything to go away than it is for one jot or one tittle of Yahweh's word to fail. And so sometimes we get stuck on one side or the other of this idea of working hard. Because sometimes we give ourselves the definition of what working hard for a relationship with Yahweh looks like. And so in that, we might say, well, if you don't do X, Y, and Z every Sabbath, then you're not keeping the Sabbath. Well, if you don't worship this way, then you're not really worshiping. Well, if you don't do this way, we don't want to confuse our own stuff with Yahweh's stuff. So we don't want to say, oh, well, Yahweh said do it this way, but that's convenient. And so because of my conviction, I'm going to do it this way. No, there's a balance. There's a balance. Yahweh says what he means and does not say what he does not mean. Y'all get that? Yahweh says what he means, and he does not say what he does not mean. If he didn't say, you don't have to do X, Y, and Z, then it's okay. It's okay. If Yahweh says, keep the Sabbath, guard the Sabbath, you can't say that the only way you keep and guard the Sabbath is if you do these things. If Yahweh didn't say it, we can't add it on. Details, Yahweh has no problem with details. Y'all, I say this all the time. We just went through these examples with Noah building this ark, Moshe building this tabernacle, and these sacrifices and stuff like that. Yahweh has no problem with details. So, if he does not give details, it's because he didn't want to. You are then free. This is the freedom of Torah. You are free to walk it out before him. You're free to walk it out before him. And y'all know, I just can imagine that comes before Yahweh as such a beautiful symphony that he has not just all violas, right? But that he has everyone playing in a different instrument and just all together in concert that comes up before him. Why? Because he left details out on purpose in some things. Now when he gives details, we need to make sure that we are adhering to those details. So let's look at Deuteronomy 4. And it reads, "And now, O Israel," chapter 4, verse 1 and 2. "And now, O Israel, listen to the laws and the right rulings which I am teaching you to do, so that you live and shall go in and possess the land which Yahweh your Elohim, Yahweh Elohim of your fathers, is giving you." Verse 2, "Do not add to the word which I command you, and do not take away from it, so as to guard the commands of Yahweh your Elohim, which I am commanding you." So we just do what he said. It's really that simple. Where he's vague, it has a purpose. It has a purpose. When he's detailed, it has a purpose. He said the seventh day. It's not vague. He said the seventh day. You can't say as long as you rest any day. He said the seventh day. If he never fully reveals why, now I don't think it's hard to see why. But if he never really reveals, or you feel as if he's never really revealed why, it doesn't matter. Because he said the seventh day, so you can't say any day, as long as you rest a day. That's convenience. Why? Because every church in the world is open on Sunday, so okay, well, why don't we just do Sunday? No, that's not why. That's not why the churches are open on Sunday. The reason the churches are open on Sunday is because of the violence done against the Torah. Because somebody made a decision to change, to add to, and to take away. A decision to do violence against the Torah was very, very intentional. This was not by accident. This was not out of ignorance. This was intentional. So if we think about it, convenience really does have a cost. It cost me a little bit more for that jar of spaghetti. It cost me a little bit more for my loaf of bread. The real question is it worth it? It's the evaluation we have to make. Is it worth what it costs? So is it worth a relationship with Yahweh? Convenience? Because this is the tradition. This is what I know. This is what I've always known. This is what my grandmother did. And my grandmother was a woman of God. And she did this her entire life. That's convenient. Because the real question is, if grandma knew better, would she have done better? And so, unless you can answer that question, just find yourself in the area of truth. Now, every now and then, you know the answer. Some cases it's, yeah, grandma would have did right. Some cases, nah, girl, I told grandma and she still ain't messing with it. Hey, that's on grandma. But like Yahushua said, what did he say? As for me and my house, we will serve Yahweh. We will serve Yahweh. Let's look at Numbers 11. Numbers chapter 11, verse 4 through 6. This is the cost of convenience. The violence done against the Torah. The cost of convenience. Verse 4, Numbers chapter 11. And the mixed multitude who were in their midst lusted greatly. So the children of Israel also wept again and said, who is giving us meat to eat? We remember the fish which we ate without cost. The convenient fish. Without cost in Mizraim. The cucumbers, they was good. And the melons, water, of course. And the leeks. And the onions and the garlic. But now our throat is dried up. There is naught to look at but this bread provided from heaven. So I had access in Mizraim to all of this stuff without cost. Really. So you were enslaved. So you were given a quota on how much brick to make and weren't even provided the straw to make the bricks. No cost. If you underperform, your child paid the consequence. No cost. You were so distraught that you cried out to Yahweh day after day after day for him to deliver you from this bondage. But you had watermelon. You had leeks and cucumbers and fish. Do y'all understand how many slaves did not leave the plantation voluntarily? Said, Master's good to me. I'm not going to leave him. The same master that beat you and took your wife, slept with your wife. That same master. The same one that told you that he would reward you by letting you take a bath today? That master? Every now and then we get confused as to what true reward looks like. Because the alternative is the bread of heaven. Verse 6. There is naught to look at but this manna. So are we rejecting at any point, out of the matter of convenience, the bread of heaven for that which the world provides to us? So we've got to find ourselves that we're driven by conviction and not convenience. Every now and then, keeping Torah is not convenient. It's not. Every now and then, you got to take a pay cut. Every now and then, you have to go to things and do things that other people don't. Every now and then, you got to miss things that other people don't. Every now and then, you don't get to participate at the level as the next person. But you got to ask yourself, is the cost of this convenience worth it? Versus, is my relationship and the conviction that I have in relationship with Yahweh worth it? Well, I have my answer, and y'all got to answer for yourselves. My answer is Yahweh's worth it. If it's an inconvenience, Yahweh's worth it. He's worth it. Because no matter what, easy ain't always easy. Might look easy, but it ain't always easy. Amen.
This is my desire.